Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola podcast. This is podcast number 143, feeling a little absentee. This podcast was actually recorded back in July, and you'll also notice that we had some technical difficulties that we had to iron out. Luckily, we were able to get some Discord audio to replace some lost audio. With those two disclaimers out of the way, I will let you know that I am, in fact, your host and podcast commander, Joseph Martin, introducing the two new people who will be in the actual original recording, starting now with...
Alex Jedraszczak, Editor-in-Chief of GameCola.net. And Anna.
Hello, Anna?
Hi, hello.
Are you on the podcast today?
Am I?
I think you might be.
I started saying things, and then Jeddy said things, and then I started laughing. So then I missed it. Hi, I'm Anna. I'm here too.
So today we have an intriguing mystery for you all to solve. And by for you all to solve, I mean Jeddy is going to tell us about it, because Jeddy said something that was wild when I was asking about what people wanted to talk about today. And so why don't we just jump right into the crazy wild thing that you have to say, Jeddy?
Oh, you want to hear about 1994's Prima Unofficial Strategy Guide, the complete Final Fantasy III Forbidden Game Secrets?
Yes. First question, what does Prima mean in this context?
They
just good?
They are a they went on to make actual official strategy guides, but in this early 90s era, apparently they were flying around under the radar saying, please do not sue us on their book cover. Hold on, I'm gonna send several images.
Opening up the podcast in a great way by sending pictures.
Yeah, that we can discuss.
We're just getting right in on it, huh? Okay, picture number one. So, okay, first of all, this is for the game Final Fantasy III.
Yes.
Now,
back when it was known as Final Fantasy III, I was curious when I picked up the book at the garage sale this morning. I saw it on the table in the 50 cents pile, and I was curious, judging by the cover and the fact that it says Forbidden Game Secrets, if it was going to be the Japanese Final Fantasy III, because the cover art has nothing remotely to do with the American Final Fantasy III, also known as Final Fantasy VI. I wouldn't say it's poorly drawn, but it is questionable content given the game. That it shows a sword with some Japanese writing on it for some reason that has a handle that's like a dragon coiled around it, I guess. But there's nothing in Final Fantasy that's like that.
It's just generic. There's a dragon, there's a sword. You get the idea. Come on.
And then to continue on this weird sort of pseudo it's a game from the Orient. It is an Asian game from the Far East.
Like all of the video games at that time.
Yeah, the text is very when it says on the first page, complete Final Fantasy III Forbidden Game Secrets by Hayaku Kaku. I don't know, the font that was chosen is sort of, I don't know, maybe they're just trying to go for fantasy. Maybe I'm judging them a little harshly, but I do judge their fake name that is literally... So they give him a bio on the back that says...
good. Good. A fake person who came up with all of these secrets?
Hayaku Kaku has been a video game player and rapid writer from an early age. He is an ancient Japanese game master. But also...
When did this come out?
What?
When did this come out?
1994.
Video games had only been around for 30 years tops.
Ancient video game master, but also that his name, they say, and rapid writer. And I have a feeling...
He's very fast at writing. Unfortunately, this book was typed, so...
Well, there's a couple of things. Is that, number one, it looks like they just looked in their dictionary, their Japanese-English dictionary, for rapid and write, and then made that his name, because Hayaku Kaku is it's not even Google Translate levels of bad, it's worse than that.
It's just you Google translated two different
Yeah,
words.
separately, individually, the words fast and right. And, oh, okay, so here is the deal, though. I have a feeling what they're discussing is Final Fantasy III came out in America in October of 1994, and this game, this book, I don't know the exact publishing date. It doesn't actually even list a date in the book itself, but I had to go look up about it. And it says it was released in 1994, which means, like, you can't write a book, get it edited, get all the things put together for it to be, like, physically printed, get it published, and, like, out into stores within, like, a month and a half. So we can just jump into what's in some of these images I sent.
So what you're saying implicitly there is that they used the Japanese version of the game to write this.
To a certain extent, and that's the weirdest part to me. It seems that they got a copy of the English game and started editing in the changes. And the images, I can tell, so it's funny, I, back in like 2005 maybe, did like a comparison. It's one of the things actually that I submitted with my GameCola, what was it, resume or whatever, my application to GameCola back in the day, is that I had this comparison of some of the differences in the Japanese and English versions of the game. And one of the things that I keyed in on is that in English, the image on the signs in front of like the businesses in the game, you know, like some of them say in, some of them have a little weapon on them, some of them have a shield, and then there's one that shows like a little cafe thing. There's like a cup or something, and in Japanese it says bar, if I remember right. Either that or it shows like a wine glass. I don't remember exactly, but basically by looking at the images in the book, I can tell that they took pictures, physical pictures of their TV that they then like printed out. It's silly looking at the quality of these pictures. The point is, half of the text is from, or you know, half of the names of things in the book are obviously from the English version of the game, but the other half of the names are incredibly poorly translated or very directly translated. So like I sent an image, weapons1.jpg, where not a single name on this page is correct. Like, not even, like, mithril sword. I don't know why they decided to spell it mithril, because it's not even, like, they have an A in the Japanese name. They just added an extra A. Oganix is okay. It's supposed to be the Ogre Nix, but if you're translating from Japanese where it just says Oganixu, like, you're gonna be like, I don't know what that is, sure, Oganix, whatever, close enough. But then my favorite, oh man, the Ragunia Lock. It's supposed to be the Ragnarok, which is a sword in the game, but for some reason they added an extra I don't know why, and they just had no clue what they were looking at. What is Nagunadaku? Like, what is that? What does that mean? Sure, okay, Ragunia Lock. There's the Rightbringer and the Soul Saver.
Yeah. I also just, this is not a translation thing, but I just like, this sword seems to be the strongest. Like, this is your job to tell me whether or not it's the strongest. What do you mean seems to be the strongest?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rightbringer is just a classic. You think that's like the most basic, like, I'm going to use some brain thought.
Yeah, or the same thing with Soul Saver, where it's supposed to be Soul Saber. Like, I get that in Japanese it's a little difficult to distinguish, but I'm wondering, like, did they have a guy in Japan who then sent over kind of what he thought they were supposed to be, and then the people in English in America made the book out of his guesstimates or whatever? I don't know. There's, in the second one, I like Ultimate Weapon, which the famous weapon in Final Fantasy VI is Ultima Weapon. There's the Glow Lance, and my personal favorite is there's a whole series of spheres, including on this page that I took a picture of, the Golden Sphere, and I don't even know if they understand what they're saying, because it says, like, decorated nicely. The front of the sphere is made of gold, so it will never rust. Like, what would be the front of a sphere if they didn't understand what the weapon was?
And then also can be used as magic sword.
Now,
can be held with both hands and can be thrown.
Now, this is part of their series on describing what the uses are. Because every weapon says, like, whether it can be held in one hand or both hands.
That I can understand.
And I think now it's a weird phrasing to say can be used as magic sword. In the next one, it says can be used as a magic sword. But I think the implication here is some weapons do have spells that can be cast. Like in the previous one, Ragnarok can use flare or whatever. So, like, it's different uses, or maybe, because, like, they can be thrown or whatever. You have different uses when you use the weapon as an item and so on. But I just like that, golden sphere. And again, when you look at the Japanese, there was a time, and I can believe that 1994 was part of that time, because in my earliest memories of being on the internet, people not understanding what the little dot means, like in Japanese, ha hi hu he ho, or sorry, ha.
Oh yeah, the little the circle.
Yeah, the little circle or the little double dots. That people just kind of go like if you say supea, it's technically spelled sufea, but like with a little dot on it that I guess maybe people are just missing.
Yeah, you think that, like, I see what you're saying, but also, like, I feel like any chart is going to just have that listed there.
There was a time when I remember very early on the internet that it was common for, like, English people trying to translate Japanese stuff from anime or whatever, that they would have no clue what that was supposed to mean, and so they would put an F in somebody's name when it was pretty obviously supposed to be a B or something. So I can kind of give them a pass, but at the same time, it's under the category of spears. Like, there's a category heading that says spears, and then it says number 1, glow lance, number 2, golden sphere.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah, they know what it is. They know what they are, but somehow...
Well, to be fair, there is a P in sphere.
Yeah, in theory.
Maybe they don't, maybe that's how they think spear is spelled.
I have no idea. And then,
do they make any references specifically to the fact that it is circular?
Hold on, let me open the book. I have it right here. Because there was another one where I thought that they said something about it being circular.
Because that would explain why they say the front of the... But I don't know how much of this text is text that they translated and stuff. Also, you've got in the ninja weapons.
Yeah,
that's a fun time.
1 second. Mithril sphere, a weakness sphere, but in the mithril series, it is the strongest, has a high attacking power, and has the same price as the great sword. Can be used as a magic sword, can be held in both hands, and can be thrown. I don't a weakness sphere? What does that mean? But in the mithril series, it is the strong... I have a feeling that they had someone in Japan telling them in Japanese what these things were before the game came out, and they were translating that explanation and being like, oh, I don't know what they just said. They said something. You know?
Cool.
Yes, ninja weapons. This one's my favorite because it uses direct translations of all of the names of Shadow's weapons. So, like, Cherry Blossom Storm is the name of a weapon. Kunai, Sasuke, Shadow Sowing, Small Knife. These are definitely not the names of the weapons in the English version.
Small knife. Hey, everyone, be very afraid of my small knife.
Sure.
But yeah, so it's very strange to me how some of the things are poorly translated. Oh, but like all of the monster names are the English monster names, and all of the Esper names are the English Esper names, including like weird translation issues where they're trying to like cram this name into the few characters that they have room for. So like one of them's called Seraphim. Like it's supposed to be Seraphim, but they
Right.
cut out the E because they didn't have space, which I would think they would cut out the PH and make it an F or something.
Mm.
But yeah, so like...
But that's not as fancy.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of weird translation issues. Oh, sorry, I skipped over the one image with the map, which also... So, two things about this. Snake deep.
How deep is this pool? Well, it's snake deep. That's how deep it is. You go to your local pool and you look on the side where it usually says something like 3 feet or something, and on the side it's just a picture of a snake.
Yeah.
That's how deep it is. You take a snake, you extend it, it's snake deep.
Average snake length. So it's supposed to be the Serpent's Trench. Or Serpent Trench, sorry. But then I also like that it says Harbor Nikea, which, like, I like that they include the descriptor as part of the name. Like, in the English version, it's just Nikea. I'm sure in Japanese it says, the thing. I don't know.
The
word.
Harbor of Nikea.
Yeah, so I just appreciate that, like, again, they're kind of mixing and matching. Oh, and they have this hand-drawn map. Sorry, that was what I was going back to explain, is that for listeners at home, they just hand drew like all of the trees and all of the buildings and all the little boxes and stuff. Like everything that you would see in the town of Nikea, the harbor of Nikea, they like drew it out by hand. So it's
to
very,
remind you that this is not official.
Yeah, it's very quaint, and I appreciate the level of effort that these rapid writers put in.
So what it sounds like to me happened is they started writing this, and then their goal was, we'll get a jump on it.
Yeah.
We'll write this book, and then we'll post it. We'll publish it immediately when the game comes out. And then the game comes out, and they're like, okay, there's a lot of differences. So they just went through and tried to change as many things as fast as they could before sending it out for publishing. And so they grabbed some English stuff.
Yeah, and so, hold on. One thing at the beginning of the book, in the introduction, hold on. It says, I do like that they say, the authors, who among them have over 25 years of experience evaluating interactive entertainment. Wow, 25. How many writers does it take to get to 25 years of interactive?
Like, they mean collectively 25 years?
As a group, among them, they've each been playing games for about, 5 to 8 years, probably?
Yeah.
But hold on, there was something that there was somewhere in this thing that it said, you definitely won't be able to play this game in a 5-day rental. Which I'm assuming they were probably like, we can beat the game and get you the translation fully edited in under a week. And then they didn't.
So they put that line in the book?
Yeah, just to be like, this game is pretty long.
Way.
Yeah. Do they really think they could beat an entire RPG in 5 days without any prior experience?
Yeah, right.
I mean, how long is Michael's playthrough? It's like 100. It's over 100 episodes.
It's a lot of episodes.
And each one of those episodes is pretty much 10 minutes. But like, I don't know. I think maybe we got 15-minute permissions in the middle of that. But like, it's a lot of episodes.
Sorry, I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
yes,
that was. There's definitely. I get a very strong feeling of hubris from this book. But you said that they went on to like actually get to write real guides.
Yeah, like Prima strategy guides are like an actual thing. Hold on, Prima.
Oh, Prima is the brand.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was like a weird way of saying this strategy guide is prime. It's the best. It's the best strategy guide, just because we say so.
No, they did have several official strategy guides. But yeah, this one was apparently from their early days when they were not so official. When they were, what does it say? When they were unauthorized, unlicensed, uncensored, underground, and unofficial.
Underground.
Unprofessional.
Yeah, uncensored. Like
Well,
it's
I mean, to be fair, if they use the Japanese translation,
yeah.
Do you have any other interesting stories before we move on?
No, I bought it this morning, so I've had, the last 4 hours to actually sit down and look at it.
What do you mean you bought it this morning? Like where did you come across this?
So I've been going to garage sales, wearing my mask, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And this one advertised that they would have video games, which they did not. I'm gonna assume somebody came at 6:30 and just cleared them out. Just didn't take a look, but just was like, here, I'll give you $20 for all your games.
Yeah.
But they did have this beautiful strategy guide sitting on the table for 50 cents. So I picked it up. I have no regrets. I was hoping, actually, there were several points where I was like, oh, I wonder if they're actually going to mention the spell Merton. It hurts you and it hurts the enemies. So it's kind of pointless. I've seen strategies where well, if you equip every single person, one with a flame armor, one with a flame shield, one with the other flame shield or whatever, everybody gets a flame armor, then they get healed actually if you use Merton. But they didn't even mention that they didn't even mention that it hurts your own party.
That sounds like a forbidden secret. I would have liked to know that forbidden secret.
Right, yeah, exactly. I guess, again, they were in a hurry getting this out, and they just wanted to get anything out so they could make some money. But I would not say that this is full of secrets. I do appreciate their maps, their hand-drawn maps, and I do want to, at some point, maybe I can follow up next month about, hold on. Before you even begin to play, you need a firm grasp of the politics and the power structure of the world you're about to enter. And then they have this whole thing about historical overview and all of the locations, finding your way in the world. They have this whole explanation of the history and all the towns and stuff. And I'd like to read all of that because it sounds
pretty fun.
Yeah, it sounds like pure conjecture.
Yeah. It sounds great.
Yeah, but I appreciate that. Imagine getting that in 1994. That would have been awesome, right? Especially, I would have been 8 or something. Yeah, I would have...
Anna and I would have been...
not born.
Negative age.
Negative.
I was born in 95.
You would have been ripe to begin your Final Fantasy adventure. But yeah, I appreciate what they did, and I'm glad to know that Prima Games went somewhere. But it's a very thick book, by the way. Even compared to strategy guides, I know what strategy guides are like. Part of it, I think, is that they use very heavy paper. These pages are super thick.
It's a nice paper.
Yeah, it's a heavy-duty book. It's a solid book.
You can attack someone with it.
Yeah, it's
That's exactly what you want to do.
It's like a
That's
college...
the real forbidden secret.
It's like a college textbook.
Oh, God.
Thickness. It's not like a regular strategy guide. But, yeah, my Final Fantasy VII strategy guide is probably a quarter the thickness. I don't know... Again, it might just be how thick the individual pages are. But, yeah, they went all out. I applaud them. I'm going to be reading all about the history of Final Fantasy III from their point of view. But I do not think I'll be using this for the strategic information for their equipment list or their enemy list or any of that.
So, now that it's been almost half an hour in podcast time, I don't know how long it's been for listening time.
Yes.
Maybe we should hit on we have some fan material that we could hit on. I think first, Jeddy, I think you're going to be very excited to hear this news.
Okay.
You're going to be very excited because your favorite video game is getting an anime adaptation.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, I think I heard about this, and I don't think it's my favorite video game.
Yeah, your favorite video game.
I think you're playing some sort of joke on me, Joseph.
Could it be, are you sure that The World Ends With You is not your favorite video game, Jeddy?
Yeah, I'm sure. The next time that GameStop is physically open, I'm selling that game back to them.
This topic came from Bryniarski 1015, who is a longtime fan who has come up on the Discord, which you can find on the GameCola Twitter and on the website. And maybe I've seen them before. It's always weird when sometimes people will show up to the Discord and it's like, are you someone that I've seen comment on other things and using a different name?
Yeah.
Are you? But the question I wanted to pose to you, Jeddy, and Anna, I don't know if you have any experience with this video game at all.
Not only Jeddy's distaste.
Do you think? So the anime is getting like officially announced tonight after this podcast goes out, or after this podcast is recorded, rather. So we're not going to talk about that. But my question to you is, do you think that the translation into an anime would improve your opinion of the property at all? Like, how would you save it, I guess, in your perspective?
Isn't this game like 10 or 15 years old? Do people care about it?
People, Jeddy, I don't think you understand that this game is like a real cult classic. Like, remember in the podcast I said, like, I think, Anna, you might have said this too, that we've only heard good things about this game before you talked about it.
No. I mean, then again, a lot of people say that they like Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, that one you're definitely in the minority on.
There was a lot of games in that sort of early 2000s era that just like, no, they're not. Like, I get that you were in middle school when this game came out. That doesn't mean that it was good. And I can admit there were games that were out when I was in middle school that weren't very good that I liked. I liked Xenogears for some reason. I don't like it now.
What are some other embarrassing games that you liked when you were in middle school, Jeddy? I think I want to talk about that right now.
There's some games, because there's games like Thousand Arms that, like, I can still appreciate what they were trying to do. Like, I liked what they were trying to go for. It's like a dating sim and an RPG. So in a way, but like at the time I admitted that it wasn't that great of a game. You know, that like they tried something and it didn't really work out that great, but it was still kind of fun. But to say like, oh yeah, the deep plot of Final Fantasy VII or whatever, or like Xenogears, that's basically just we watched Evangelion and then kind of tried to make some kind of robot show with deep commentary or whatever. Like it's not good. I don't know, and that's the thing, is that like at least with an anime I don't have to play it.
You can do it sort of passively.
Yeah, but I hated the characters so much that I don't think I would even want to. The edgy main character, no, like that wasn't good back then. It's still not good. Like, he's not cool, he's not interesting, I don't care.
But that's what I'm saying. How would you make him cool and interesting, Jeddy? As our resident expert on cool and interesting.
Unless they're, like, abandoning the whole plot line where he just, like, hates women, I don't know if I mean, maybe they're going to. Maybe they're going to modernize.
So. It's 2020.
Because, like, the entire beginning of the game is just him complaining about, like, the only useful character, which is his companion, which is the girl. He just constantly complains, but she's the one who's, like, actually making things happen. And then he literally kills her because, like, you don't know until later that he didn't actually, but he was completely willing to. And there's no, like, apology for it. He just is like, oh, she's useless to me, but I could kill her, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, this is good. And, like, I get that in middle school, it's like, oh, whoa, he doesn't care about anything. Like, no, just, it's not good writing.
He doesn't afraid of anything.
Yeah, like, it's not good writing. I mean, maybe since I didn't play, 98% of the game, maybe something actually happens. But, I kind of throw it in there with, like, Kingdom Hearts, where when Kingdom Hearts 3 finally came out, everyone who's an adult now is like, yeah, I can't stand this.
I don't know. With Kingdom Hearts, I'm pretty sure everybody that I listened, like, I heard talking about it were like, no, this is bad, but there's enough material to work with that I can sort of think of it as something good. If that makes sense. I think the same thing happens with Sonic, where it's like, no, there's no good story in a Sonic game, but there's enough interesting character ideas that you can take that and sort of construct your own interesting narrative out of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, a lot of Kingdom Hearts fan art is putting relationships between characters who don't actually spend that much time on screen together because they're things that make promises of being interesting, and then they don't have to deliver. They just let other people deliver on that through fan content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the impression that I get from people who like Kingdom Hearts.
My sorority sisters just got a huge Kingdom Hearts tattoo on her leg, and I think it's safe to say that she was very excited for the third game, and I think she liked it a lot.
Oh, really? I mean, I can imagine that there are people who would legitimately like it.
Yeah.
I've always been of the mindset that Daffy, excuse me, help me, I'm sorry. I was mixing up Donald and Goofy to make Daffy. It's a different duck. Yes, Donald and Goofy don't really need to be in a deep JRPG. And from the people who I saw on my Twitter timeline talking about the game seemed to be finally coming around to that conclusion at the age of 35 or whatever, that separated by 15 years or however long it had been since the previous game, they finally grew to realize that it's a little silly and that they can't really get as deeply involved in the game as they used to. I don't know where I was going with that, but I guess,
know.
Yeah, I guess I can picture that if instead of having been 20 when you first played the game, that you were 15, and so you're still closer to that when the third one came around, you could still enjoy it. It might also still be a good game, even if it has Donald and Goofy in it.
I have another question from the studio audience. That's my transition.
Wow.
I'm very good at this. I've been podcasting for 6 years now? 6 or 7?
Yes, you've become the master.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this comes from Axe. I'm just going to call you Axe because that seems to be the theme that this person in the Discord keeps changing their name, which is their prerogative. But Axe is the through line. So I'm just going to say Axe because it may be different by the time this podcast goes out. Anyway, Axe asks, when a game asks you to build your character, what sort of character do you usually build? Do you build yourself? Do you have any particular memorable characters that you've built, and for what game? I can remember the first time because usually when I was a kid, I would always go for like balance. If I was given options, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to put a couple points into this and then a couple points into that, and the stats are just going to increase sort of gradually. I remember that was my strategy for the Mario and Luigi games. And then there was one time where I was replaying it and it's like, what if I just make Mario really good at punch?
Yeah.
And Luigi really good at get punched.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was my first experimentation with weird builds where Luigi was the tank healer and Mario was the glass cannon. Yeah. Which I think is my most memorable build because I think the game is built that you can do that, but also doesn't expect you to, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't expect that the people playing Mario RPG are going to get really into min-max builds.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's I don't know if there's anything in the game that really pressures you, but I feel like the game is perhaps balanced most centrally around the idea that you're going to increase their stats that they do in the Mario RPGs, sort of uniform. And so there were definitely interesting dynamics where your one character is doing a one-hit KO on most things, which isn't necessarily expected. Yeah. What about you guys?
So if it's a game like Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley, I will make the thing look like I will make the character look like myself. But sometimes in games I don't even use like my actual name. Like if it's just a name thing, I'll use a different name for no reason other than just being like, not me. But when it comes to like building characters, so something like, what games do I play that involve that?
The Sims.
With The Sims, I definitely never use myself or someone else I know. The last time I did that, it was 2012.
I like how you can remember the year.
I remember the
I
exact
don't remember
moment.
the whole year. But it was me and my then boyfriend, and it was weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's because we were together playing, like, quote unquote, both playing. But then something like Oblivion or a game where you put stats in like you would in D&D, I always go for agility and dexterity because I've mentioned plenty of times rogues are my favorite. So I always go for that kind of stuff, like stealth and agility, stuff like that.
Is there a backstory to the Anna likes rogue
I don't
archetype?
think so.
It's so fundamental to your base character.
Yeah, no,
at least on the internet.
I think I just really liked Robin Hood as a kid. Let's say that, because I don't really know. It's stuff like that, and then I also read like a series called the Knight and Rogue series, and I really like the rogue character, so that's probably a big part of it. I'm sure there are other reasons. I think I read too many stories about quote unquote good thieves.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And also, you just like stealing all the time. That's definitely also true.
I just love stealing. I just love theft.
Well-known Anna fact.
2 things about Anna that you need to know. She likes stealing and she likes doing gymnastics.
Fun fact, I don't want to say the least. Okay, when I was a kid, I was very, very clumsy. I'm a lot less clumsy now, but I have fallen in the past where I have injured both of my ankles.
At the same time?
No, different times.
Okay. That would be impressive.
Like 2 years apart. 2 or 3 years apart. One was before I left to go back to college, and the other one was at work when I worked at the spa. But yeah, I usually go for a dexterity-based character, and I don't really have a memorable one. I'm trying to think if there's really anything that I play that I've done anything like memorable with in terms of build. Yeah, I don't. I'll think about it. If I think of anything, I'll let you know.
Another thing to add into this is when you're given the option to name your character, whether or not it's like part of a bigger build, and it's like clearly meant to be like, this is you. Like, it's not necessarily like even Earthbound where like you're given 4 characters to name, or like a game where like the person like talks. It's like, this is very clearly meant to be a stand-in for you, the player.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use your name? Like in Pokemon, for example. Like, I always call myself Joe in Pokemon.
Yeah, in Pokemon, I'll always choose Anna. But in stuff like Earthbound or in other RPGs where it's not supposed to be me, like it's not specifically like boy or girl, choose. I tend to like maybe pick whatever the default is or a different name altogether.
I like to pick the default because that way I remember the canon names of the characters. Otherwise, I'll forget. I do that in Pokemon too. I won't nickname new Pokemon so that I learn their actual names. Jeddy, what about you?
In terms of names, if it's supposed to be me, so we were talking about who knows me as Jeddy, right? I know me as Jeddy.
Okay, yeah, that was I was gonna ask if you do Alex or Jeddy.
Yeah, no,
name it after yourself.
I was thinking about that recently, actually. That like I've basically, I mean, maybe when I was like 12 or something, but basically since I started being on the internet, I've named my characters Jed or Jeddy or whatever will fit.
It reminds me of that one. There's like one scene in some DC TV show or comic or something where like Wonder Woman like uses her whip of truth, and they all have to like, we're gonna say our actual names, and they like Superman's like Clark Kent, and she says her name and then just Batman.
That's my real name.
That's
Anyway,
Bruce Wayne doesn't exist.
Alex is the fake one.
Yeah, right.
Jeddy's the real one.
Yeah. But then in other games where like it's not supposed to be a self-insert character and they have an actual name or whatever, I've taken a liking to just kind of either making a pun out of their name or just making their name sound stupid. So
Good.
Like the main character in Front Mission is named Lloyd, and I recently started replaying that and I named him Bloyd. It's great when like I take a week off from the game and I come back and somebody's like, "Oh hey, Bloyd." I'm like, "Oh right, I named him Bloyd."
That's fantastic. Bloyd is fantastic.
So yeah, in terms of characters, like what type of character, I do kind of follow Anna in the like speed attack as my like favorite thing. I don't really care about I don't care about high power alone, and I really don't care about like slow but high defense. For me, I do prefer to put my points into agility or whatever speed. And it's strange because I used to always like wizard characters or like sorcerers or whatever, like damage dealer magicians. But for some reason, I think it was when I started playing Final Fantasy XI that I just preferred the thief character. Like being a mage was really expensive, so I was like, well, I'll be something else this time. I'll be the thief. And from there I just kind of stuck with it into adulthood.
Yeah, I think I didn't really hit maybe as much on stuff like that. I think part of it is because most of my RPG time is in Pokemon, where like
it doesn't really, it's not an
yeah,
option.
that's not but I think I kind of touched on this. I tend to gravitate towards like balanced builds, like maybe Red Mage-esque would be the archetype of that. Like I definitely like having access to magic, but also like I feel like a lot of games structure magic as being like you're dead in one punch.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of frustrating.
Oh yeah, and that too.
And so just because it would be so easy, like magic is probably the hardest thing to balance, and it's probably easier to keep it underpowered than make it overpowered. Like basically make it cost too much to be effective.
Yeah.
So I like having the balance of it. I think I did a magic-based build when I played Skyrim once. I'm like the last person on the planet who doesn't own Skyrim. And at this point, it's just, I've played it before. I've played other people's copies of Skyrim, but I myself do not own Skyrim. I'm going to wait until we get to the last version of Skyrim, and then I'll play that. I'll own whatever the last version of Skyrim is.
How old is Skyrim now?
It's, I think
in November.
Because it came out on 1/1/1/1/1.
Wow. It's
11/11/11.
It's lived a long life.
There's probably a GameCola podcast about when Skyrim came out. I forget sometimes that this podcast, because obviously the podcast started before I was around significantly. But around on GameCola, I was alive when the podcast started. But it's been, are we at 11? No. Yes? Are we at 11 years yet? I think we are.
Yeah.
Because it started January 2009.
Yeah, I was on the podcast in 2009.
And your first podcast was in 2000. Your first host podcast was in 2010. I just listened back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, you were telling me about that.
I ran the math, and it's I've hosted about the same amount of podcast episodes that you hosted before we transferred ownership. It's something like 50-ish. I think it's a little bit more than 50, because I think your first episode was 29 as host, and mine was 86. Yeah, that's just a fun GameCola podcast fact. Anna, your thing was Animal Crossing, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I'm just going to, is it cool if we just sort of lump that into games we've been playing in recent times?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. That part.
I actually have a lot to talk about.
Okay, well,
with
I'll let you
games I've
start.
been playing.
I will let you start then, but let me lead you in, okay?
Okay. It
Hey
better be
Anna,
good.
what video games have you been playing in recent times? There, I led you in.
Thanks, Jack. So, the
I'm not-
Steam Summer Sale started earlier this week. So I bought a lot of games, but first I want to talk about
Mhm.
Animal Crossing because on the day we are recording this, the newest update came up for July 3rd, where now you can swim and go diving for things, which was a feature in New Leaf that was noticeably absent, at least for me, when New Horizons came out. But yeah, now you can go swimming. You have to buy a diving suit from either the town hall place or the Nookling store. But yeah, you can go diving and find some new sea creatures, and you can also find pearls, which I found out are very, very worth selling if you don't want to do any of the new furniture options that are given to you by returning character Pascal the otter for giving him a shell. And since I don't want to do any of those furniture options, I will sell these pearls, and it's great. Something I've been doing a lot in Animal Crossing is now that I have less anxiety, I've started like rebuilding my town and my island and kind of making things fancy with all the fun options for like terraforming and path making and everything. It was just really overwhelming. So finally getting to do that. I did a lot of time traveling with this because I was moving every villager, which I have 10, and I think that's the max you can have. I was moving every villager's house to one area, and it took a long time, basically all day.
So can you only move one a day?
Yes.
Ah, I
Yes.
see.
And it cost 50,000 bells.
What?
Mm.
It was a lot of money. Thank God it wasn't real life money, and I don't have the option to spend real life money because I would have.
There's got to be someone who's done the whole, like, how much is a bell worth in real life?
Yeah, I really,
I'm going to
I
look
hope
that up
so.
real quick while you keep talking.
Okay. But so I finally started doing some fun stuff. I have an orchard now for all my fruit trees and playground and a picnic area, and I just have to figure out other fun things to do. But that's it pretty much for Animal Crossing, aside from the fact that Gulliver, who washes up on the shore of your town sometimes because he somehow went overboard because he's a terrible sailor, he will now be dressed as a pirate. Now he's Pirate Gulliver, I guess. Which I don't understand what's up with that, but you know, it's fine. But in about a month, there will be a new update that there's going to be information on, hopefully soon. I don't know how soon, but yeah, that's this month's Animal Crossing update. Last month was wedding season, quote unquote, so you could go to the island where you can take pictures and take pictures of two people who are married in New Leaf, the retail shop people. And yeah, I did that for a few days and then I stopped because I forgot to do it. So Steam Summer Sale, I bought a lot of games
Real
for
quick,
very cheap.
before, just so to connect back to Animal Crossing,
Yes.
my Googling has determined that it's some, like, anywhere between, like, some people are just like, bell's about a yen, and that's about it, and that means 100 is about, that means it's about a cent. Other people ran calculations, it's like 57 bells equals $1, but it's all over the place. It's not really, pricing is just all over the place, so it's kind of inconsistent. But what that would suggest that moving a house would be $500, right? You said it
Sure.
was 50,000.
Yeah, it's a lot still though.
Yeah, $500 is a lot of money, especially
Yeah.
do it 10 times. It's $5,000.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. That was a very important fact that I had to share with the audience. I'm sure you understand.
I bought a lot of games for very cheap that I've had on my wish list for a while. I don't know how many of them I'm going to get to play within the next few days, but actually bought Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes,
Yes.
which is notably a game that has given me anxiety in the past. As long as other people are playing and it's not just me reading directions, it's fine.
Okay, so wait, so have you been on the bomb defusal side yet?
I have not. I actually have never been on the bomb defusal side.
I'm curious if how, and it would obviously it's up to you.
I'd love to test my anxiety on this, honestly. I would love to see what happens.
Is it more, because I found when I play Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes that being on the defusal side, there is like this, obviously it is the one where like the narrative is I'm the one who dies, right? But also like if I blow up, it almost always is, it's super easy to rationalize it as not my fault, right? It's someone else's fault. They didn't give me the instructions good enough and in time.
Yes.
So I didn't really feel that much anxiety. Whereas I think it would be interesting because I have also never been on the manual side. Maybe we should turn the tables and
like a million things we need to stream. So yes, let's do that.
Keep Talking Nobody Explodes is a good one because you don't have to do any like screen sharing. Like the whole point is that the other person can't see the screen.
Yeah. But
anyway.
So I own that now. I also bought a few games that I've already played, or at least one game that I've already played, which is Detective Grimoire, Secret of the Swamp, and its sequel, which I hadn't played before because the only other place I've seen it is on the Apple Arcade, which costs subscription money, and I'm not doing that. But Tangle Tower is the one I've been thinking about most often because I liked the game Detective Grimoire when I played it the first time. It's a point-and-click game with some vague Phoenix Wright. I don't want to say mechanics because it's not really, but it's reminiscent maybe for someone who has played Phoenix Wright. But the second game has a really good sense of humor, a good story, and the art style is really nice. I think I like it a lot more than I like the first one. But the weird thing is that the story they tried to make in the first game, they left off on a cliffhanger, and then they pick up with this game, and it's almost been forgotten almost. It's very weird. It's a very weird thing that's been bugging me for about a week now. And I got my boyfriend Cam to play it, and he had the same problem where it was just like, the ending was also like kind of rushed, and it's a pretty common criticism of the game where everyone's saying that it was rushed, which I definitely agree with, and even the developers have mentioned that, yeah, okay, we get it, yeah, you're right, it could have had more to it, and we're still learning, and it's like, okay, but why? But yeah, these are also the same people who made Snipper Clips, if anyone played that on the Switch, which is just a fun fact, but has nothing to do with Detective Grimoire at all, other than just the same people made it. Another game that I bought, and it not on sale, but two games that I bought that aren't on sale are Wilmot's Warehouse, which is basically just a game where you organize things, and it's okay. I like it, but at the same time, I don't know how I feel.
Is that the one where you're kind of given a bunch of abstract icons that you have to choose how you're organizing it, and then
exactly.
Then later you're asked to like find them and deliver or something. Yeah,
exactly. That's the one. And then the other one that I've been playing a lot is called Townscaper, which actually just came out and is still in early access, but I've been following the dev on Twitter for what feels like about a year, and it's just this cute little town maker that I'm opening right now. Oh, whoa, what the hell? Sorry. The heck is this? That's interesting. An update, I think, just happened where you can look at your new towns, towns that you've made in the past.
Yeah, I can see on Discord, all of a sudden it says Anna is playing Townscaper.
Yeah, it's cute. You just build a little town out of in the middle of the ocean with just different colored things, and it's just a toy. It's not really a game. There's no real goal. You're just having fun. And when I was playing it for the first time, I was on Discord with Cam, and all he heard was the sound of like me just clicking over and over again, because you can make really high towers. And I just kept clicking and clicking, and it made like bricks will go everywhere and kind of go into the water, and it'll make a sound, and he's just like, what are you doing? But yeah, I've just been having a good time with my Steam summer sale games. I also bought a bunch of DLC for Planet Coaster, which is a game I don't really play, but I bought it anyway. I don't know why, but yeah, Steam summer sale. Lose all your money is the article I wrote.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Never forget how to lose all your money on video games. Don't listen to me. I give terrible advice. Or the best advice if you don't need all that money. But yeah, that's pretty much all the games I've been playing lately, unless I have other ones. I don't think so. Video games. So yeah, that's my life right now.
Jeddy, have you been playing any video games in recent times?
So I bought that bundle for racial justice on itch.io,
right,
which we talked a lot about in the GameCola Discord at the time. But then before the sale ended, like, they kept adding more games.
Yeah.
And like I was downloading them at the time, like as they were being added or whatever. There's also quite a lot of there's not just video games. There's also like tabletop RPGs and trading card games, and a lot of like art and music assets for developers. I downloaded all of that, and then I only had time to like play one or two of the games a little bit, because I don't know, I had to run out and do a bunch of things at that time. So I never got back to it, but I need to, and I need to stop playing the original Front Mission because it's kind of cool and all, but I've also played it like 5 times, and there's not much new going on. You shoot some stuff with robots. The guy's named Bloyd this time. It's funny, but that's about it. So yes, maybe next time I'll be able to talk to you about the, what is it, 1491 games or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, so I have
So what's the Bloyd game?
Front Mission for the Super Nintendo. I was sad to find out that they revived the series recently, but it was like a stealth game or something. Like it used to be a tactics game, and it was really good as a tactics game, and I talked a lot on GameCola about Front Mission 4 being my favorite game. It's still a very good game. Apparently the latest one, they took like a 15-year break and then made one like a year ago or something, and nobody liked it.
You hate to see it.
But yeah, the original one, it's fun, it's interesting, they had a lot of good ideas, but it's kind of slow. It's an old game, it hasn't aged well, but the guy's named Bloyd because I named him that.
I've spent the last week or so with my gaming time playing everyone's least controversial gaming topic, the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC, Isle of Armor.
How is it?
So the general consensus, and I agree with this, is if you like Sword and Shield, you'll like the DLC. If you don't like Sword and Shield, this isn't going to change anyone's opinion on the video game. It's basically, there are some cool things in it, and I think we'll probably want to go more in depth on it when we have people who feel more strongly about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like if James comes on, we'll probably get into it a little bit more. The things that I like are like things like the wild. It's basically one big wild area, and it feels like a much better realization of that than what's in the base game. Particularly because it's just like that's just the one area of it.
I was gonna ask about that if they gave you a new,
Mm-hmm. So it's just the whole thing is interconnected. Like there's water that you can go around in, and then there's also like the path. There's like sort of a main path through the island, but then there's all these caves that you go through. And again, you're not like entering a new area in the cave. You're weaving through tunnels that can pop you out in different areas.
That's cool.
And it's interesting. And I've been enjoying going through and catching all the new Pokemon that are in it. And again, like most of the stuff that's in the game is stuff that the person who has spent the money on it is getting convenience out of it for the most part, right? Everybody can get the Pokemon that are in this video game in the main game. You don't have to buy the DLC to have the Pokemon allowed in your game.
Oh, right.
It's just you have to trade with someone who has the DLC or use something like Pokemon Home to transfer the Pokemon into the game. So again, they're not so however you feel about how much of it is convenience, how much of it is, stuff that they should get. I don't know. That's something to talk about with people who feel more strongly about it, I think. And the story was like, this extra story content was fine. I think probably the best value for your dog, because you're really paying like $15 for this because there's another expansion. There's another DLC that'll come out in the fall. And so the whole thing is $30. And the value proposition, I would say the biggest one is so at the end of the main game, and this has been standard for Pokemon games in general, you get access to the battle tower, which is sort of like the closest thing that you can have single player competitive battling offline. Like you play against, you can battle teams that require like competitive level strategies essentially. So it's the reason why you would want to EV train your Pokemon and give them good move sets and good synergy, even if you weren't playing online, for example. But like there's a skill ceiling on that, and it's decently low. And like you can look up all different videos on kind of how to cheese it, and like take advantage of the fact that the AI isn't going to be able to pick out strategies that are really obvious if you're a human player on competitive, but like the AI doesn't really think about it like that.
Yeah.
But in Isle of Armor, once you get through the main story, what you get to do is they basically have another version of that where your goal is to win 5 battles. You don't get to heal. You don't get to heal after every battle. Instead, you get 2 opportunities to heal out of the 5 battles, and you have to use a team of one type. And the opponent has regular teams. So it's not like, oh, you're using all poison types and your opponent's using all poison types. It's like you're using all poison types and your opponent's team could have a ton of ground types, and you're just, so you got to account for that.
Yeah, and I think that's fun that, like, one of the things that, I guess both the games and the show always did is like, oh yeah, I'm just a fire trainer or whatever. It's like nobody ever actually does that. Like, unless they're going for, like, a specific challenge run or something, nobody's ever like, oh, I have a team of, Jigglypuffs or something. I just think they're cute. And so I guess I appreciate them enforcing that in a way. It's cool.
Yeah, and it gives you a reason to do the battle tower beyond, and this mode beyond just grinding for its own sake. Again, assuming you're not doing, like, online stuff. It gives you an in-game reason to train a bunch of, like, to do EV training and competitive level stuff on a bunch of Pokemon instead of just coming up with one set, which all that gives you is just better chances at the battle tower. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. So again, like, if you're really into competitive Pokemon, this DLC, whether or not you're upset about this fact, the DLC is probably going to be your best. You're probably going to want it. Again, you may think that it should have just been included in the base game. I'm not. Do you understand the distinction that I'm making?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. I guess
that was a long pause for yes.
No, sorry. I guess the thing is like, perhaps I'm not the best person to discuss Pokemon with, because
That's
again,
fair.
I did play Pokemon Sword and Shield, but it was like the first time of me playing a Pokemon that wasn't Gen 1.
Mm-hmm. And I also think that there is...
Does Mystery Dungeon count?
That there is merit... Again, I'm not saying positive or negative right now, but there is merit to the idea of at least considering how is this better/worse than having a third game, essentially, because that's what they've said, that this is replacing a third game, sequel games. There's not going to be Sword and Shield 2.
Yeah, well, but then again, like, the concept of, like, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon or whatever.
Right.
Again, like, part of my hesitation is that, I mean, I don't have any experience with Sun or Moon or Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. But that, like, are you really going to complain that they don't have X and Y2 or whatever it was? Like, that sounded like a dumb idea to begin with. So the concept that they're making it a DLC instead, as much as people I know have complained, they're like, oh, it should have been in the game to begin with. It's like, I don't know. Games have cost $60 since like the 80s. Maybe it's time for games to go up in price.
It's such a weird thing. We were talking about it on the Discord before too. Like, I can understand why they have been able to keep it down for so long.
Yeah, like as you sell more games, you can keep it at the same price because that's the thing is like you can't say that the same cost goes into making an Atari game that like two people made together. But like if two people make it together and they sell a few thousand copies, you're equaling out to a few hundred people being on the staff and selling a few million copies. But that there is a point where we're hitting that maximum now, where everyone does play games. There's no new game players to reach, and as such, the price of game, either they're going to have to put less into development, which I'm all for. I don't really care. Like, actually, there's been a Twitter trend lately of people saying, like, look, make a shorter game. What I wanted is a shorter game that's good. I don't need a game that has 120 hours of gameplay that nobody cares about. So the concept of either less graphics, shorter game, and sell it for the same price, or if you're going to keep having like 1,000 people work on a game, maybe the price needs to go up. And that seems to be the strategy of like, oh yeah, there's DLC and microtransactions in every game. It's like they need to make money somehow.
Yeah, it's just interesting because like any industry would want to be able to keep the price lower so that more people would buy the thing.
Yeah.
Just why has games been able to essentially avoid inflation for so long? And the sort of gambit that they've made is now playing out where now that it's been $60 for so long and hasn't increased, everyone's going to be upset whenever it does increase.
Yeah.
And so that's where you get things like microtransactions and DLC and stuff like that.
Yeah, cool.
Cool, very cool.
Awesome.
As Anna said earlier in the podcast, video games.
Well, I think that's all the video games we have for today.
No more ever again.
There's no more video games.
Sorry, guys, we ate them all.
So, Jeddy, how did you have it's the image of the guy shouting McDonald's at his TV, which I think is the patent for like you get rid of the ad by shouting McDonald's at your TV. Who patented this?
I mean, I imagine it was McDonald's.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was a game company.
Oh, if it was like Sony or something?
I think it was Microsoft, because I think it was supposed to go with the Kinect.
Yeah, it sounds like a Microsoft thing, like especially with McDonald's. But yes, sorry, I saved this. I know I've
you had it ready to go.
You were very ready.
Like I'm sure it's gonna still like people are gonna think, oh, Joseph edited out some silence there. No, it was like immediate.
Yeah.
After Anna said we ate all the video games. I'm like, how did you have this at the ready so quickly?
No, I have a folder full of like stuff like this that I just know that it's on my desktop.
You just have it open during the podcast?
No, I mean I click the little plus and then I click desktop and then I click images or whatever, the folder.
It's so fast though.
Yeah. Yes, when we say video games, I think McDonald's. The guy standing up and saying McDonald's in order to close the ad early.
Well, if you stand up and say GameCola, the next podcast will be out faster. That's a secret hidden technique. What was it called? What was it? Let's bring it back. Forbidden.
What? Oh, forbidden secrets.
Forbidden GameCola secrets. If you stand up and shout GameCola, next podcast comes out faster.
Forbidden GameCola secrets. There we go.
Surprised that doesn't actually work.
It might work if I'm in earshot. If someone shouts GameCola, I'd be like, maybe I should edit the new podcast.
I'm gonna call you on Discord, like right after this one comes out, and demand that the next one goes up earlier.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the GameCola podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to check us out on our actual internet website, GameCola.net, where you can see articles for the podcast and all the other stuff that we're doing. You can also find us on YouTube. The channel name is GC.net, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, and the word net. You can find videos, playthroughs of Danganronpa 2 are going up right now, along with podcast videos and other stuff like that. You can do like what everybody else on the internet apparently did during the quarantine and watch the Super Mario Brothers 2 playthrough a million times.
Yeah.
The
I'm
views
very
on
glad.
that have skyrocketed.
Jeez.
I think part of it is because I think Super Mario Brothers 2 may have come out on the NES Online somewhere around then.
Probably.
And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search GameCola. You can find us pretty much anywhere if you just search GameCola. If we're there, it's GameCola, aside from the YouTube channel, which is gc.net, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, the word net. Come join us on the Discord. You can find the link on the website or the invite link on the Twitter description. That's where we've been getting our sort of questions and podcast topics from the super fans on the Discord. Anything else that I am missing?
I think that's about it. I think people who are listening and or who are not on our Discord are missing out. There's quite a lot of good content on there.
So far, everybody who said, hey, I just decided to try the Discord pretty much has stuck around.
Yeah.
And they
Like,
seem to be
it might not
enjoying
always
themselves.
be. Yeah, it might not always be like always there, which is good. Live your life. But people pop in from time to time, which is nice.
And with that, I think it is time to end this episode of the podcast. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful time of day, wherever it is, whenever it is you are listening to this podcast, and we will see you next month. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Let's see how much of this.
Did you say goodbye, Anna?
Did I say goodbye?
No, you didn't.
Did you? I didn't hear it.
I did. I think so. I'm looking at my Audacity and it's showing up right there. But I think something with the Discord is not
Okay.
going well.
Just you didn't want to say goodbye to the fans. It's fine.
I did. I always do.